Welcome to the Growing with Fishes podcast. This week we have Ryder Farms Aquaponics. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, they've been really cool. We just started talking to them. Marty and I got to know them over the last couple of, I guess maybe a month or two, and really cool group of people out of Oklahoma. They're going to be telling us all about growing vegetables there and commercial aquaponics this week. So it's going to be a really great episode. We also have Marty. How's it going, Marty?
Good. It's been kind of a long week. We had the class over the weekend, like you were talking about. So back to my normal job too. So I'm a little tired tonight, but we'll hang in there as long as I can.
Good for you.
We got Roger.
How y'all doing tonight? We're having a great night. Welcome to the show, Bob.
Thank you.
We got Mr.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Glad to be here.
Good to see you.
We got Fish Ganja Guy.
Good evening, everybody.
What's up, Fish?
I missed you all.
Oh, you don't have to miss me very long. I'll see you in like.
Okay.
It's always nice to see you here too, man. Yeah.
It's good to be seen.
Who else on the panel is going to Emerald this weekend?
I know. Don't rub it in. I bought a Fender Telecaster instead of going to Emerald.
Okay.
I can't leave. But we're happy. So I don't mean to bum everybody out. So.
I never go anywhere in flower. Just, I don't.
That's a good point too. You know, that's a very good point. And on with the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of news this week after I guess it's going to be a really good episode this week. So a lot of things to talk about. A lot of important things to talk about too. A lot of big things changing and improving for our markets. Thanks a lot for joining us, Bob. You're with Ryder Aquaponics based out of Oklahoma. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your system and what you guys do there?
All right. Well, we're just south of Tulsa, Oklahoma, is where we're at. Been practicing it about 10 years now. We've just kind of been trying for the past few years everything, see what grows best and what we can do, what we can't do. And so far, we've managed to be able to grow about anything that we've tried. We're about growing organic. We're an organic farm that grows inside and outside, but we're practicing aquaponics. But we grow a lot of tomatoes and cucumbers and, you know, obviously lettuce. Most aquaponics people around here see is growing lettuce, but we've got everything going on in there. And we got a crop of beets going right now. Quite a bit of turmeric and ginger going right now. Celery. Celery. Man, you name it, and all the herbs and all we've grown. But we managed to kind of get it down. We still got a lot to learn. We're learning every day, but we've come a long ways in the past few years. We've, you know, kind of got the attention of a couple of the universities around here. They come out quite often and wanting our research and our numbers and things. So we're starting to work with them now. But we're growing. We're getting very popular. I know that.
So what kind of work are you doing with some of the local universities there? It sounds really interesting.
Well, they, like I said, most of them just seen lettuces and the greens and all. And one of the ag department from OSU had come out and he was blown away by things he's seen in there. Like, you know, a lot of the root vegetables I don't think you can do, but when he seen me growing the root vegetables and just a multiple of different vegetables and all, he just couldn't believe it, because he said of all the aquaponic systems around Oklahoma he's seen, he ain't seen multiple things grown like that. And so like I say, it's really got their attention. So they've started coming out regularly and talking to us, and basically they're wanting to know my numbers, what it takes to put together, what you can grow, how quickly you can grow it. I expected them to come out here a little over a week ago to tell me what I was doing wrong, but they I guess they come out and they're learning from me. So I was pretty proud after they left. Made me feel better about what I was doing, more about what I know what I was doing. So, but we'll probably see more of them. They're starting to move towards it and teach it, and going to have some schooling on it, and I think they're just learning themselves too. They know the science of it and all, but seeing it actually in action kind of intrigued them. So, they've invited us to join up with them to anything we need as far as testing goes. Their facilities, we're welcome to it. And then in return, I think they're just wanting to know our numbers and how we're doing it. So, looks like we're going to be working together quite a bit here in the near future.
It's really wonderful. So, what varieties of things, especially lettuce? A lot of people ask what variety of lettuce is the best, especially for a place like Texas or Oklahoma or other places in the South. What kind of varieties would work best for you?
What all have we planted out there?
Lettuce.
The best, yeah, lettuce.
We usually do the green ice lettuce, romaine lettuce.
Yeah, romaine does real well.
Microgreens, Swiss chard. We do cauliflower, collard greens, okra. We do a little bit of everything. Moringa trees. That's where I have fun in growing different things and different variety. We are growing ginger and turmeric in aquaponics, the media now, and which is a big demand. You can't grow eucalyptus here in Oklahoma, but I can grow it in aquaponics. I've got one that's about 15 feet tall, and but
we don't focus on a whole lot of lettuce. We just plant a little in there, but if you walk in our greenhouse, you're going to see a lot of tomatoes, bell peppers, beets, and okra,
kale.
and the kale. That's what you're going to see the most of in ours. Then we got a couple of beds, with all the turmeric and ginger stuff like that in it and all. But we're not focused on here at our facility here on the farm as production. We'll plant stuff, see how well it does, and then pull it up and plant something else. But we're still kind of in our research and development stage, basically. It's just all about training and teaching out of this facility. Now, some of our other greenhouses that we've put up with the aquaponic systems in it, we give the people an option to plant for us. If they want to do it as a business, we'll tell them what we want them to grow for us, and then we buy back from them. Like, for instance, we've got one facility up, and they grow nothing but bell peppers for us. And then we got one facility that grows all tomatoes, or one that does cucumbers and strawberries. We got one that does strawberries and all. And some of them will plant a couple beds for themselves, and they'll plant the other beds for us, and we buy back, which helps them fund what they're doing. And that's how we collect our vegetables that we sell to the community and all. So it's kind of like a co-op thing going on. But it's had a good start for about the past 5 years, but it's really rolling strong right now. I mean, I've got a lot of systems going up, and I actually am mason by trade, do stone and brickwork, and I have actually turned the business over to my two partners, and I'm in as a silent partner, so I could go into this full time because it's consuming all my time dealing with it now. So putting a crew together, and we probably got about 25 systems under our belt right now. And we get calls every day on them now, probably 2 to 3 calls a day of serious ones wanting to put these systems in. But we got our second house going up right now, 100 by 20, that we're going to put into production. But we're going to put each bed with a different species of fish or just different things in there to each bed, so we can show the different species of different kinds of fish, crawdads, different things like that to each bed. Use it kind of as a showroom of what all you can use, and each bed will have one vegetable in it running off that one tank. And then after that, we'll put the third one up, and the third one will be all about production here on the farm. I'm going to do some studies on per square foot versus what you can grow in aquaponics, what you can grow outside, traditional growing, and I'm going to do some comparisons there on my third house. So I'm gonna deck it out from ceiling to floor and the walls and hang it in there. Every square inch, and I'm gonna try to prove that you can grow 40 acres inside of a 20 by 100 greenhouse in 12 months time. That's what my goal is.
That's really cool. I have a question for you. And obviously you guys have put a lot of work and probably a significant amount of investment and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Into it. So why aquaponics versus so many other different means of farms, like especially Oklahoma? Imagine there's how it's been done for a long time kind of scenarios. And I think everybody who's been bitten by the aquaponics bug has a story. So I like to ask what yours is.
Yeah, I've always grown a garden outside, and always lived in the country and raised my own beef and things like that. And it's gotten to where anymore with the climate, it's almost impossible to get a crop. I mean, there's too many disasters, too many bugs. There's so many bugs now that's so immune to the sprays and all outside, and it's just one thing after the other. What finally drove the nail in my coffin was I had a crop of corn, and it was the best crop I'd ever raised. And I was a week away from harvesting this thing. And we had a storm, one of the downbursts come down and wiped it completely out. And I just had to throw it to the animals, so I couldn't even harvest it. And after that, I thought, I'll never plant another crop outside. I would go inside where I can control the environment, and it'll be under my control of growing. And then the aquaponics, as I started looking at it, it grew so fast that I was amazed. When I first got into it, I had to prove it to myself, and I put start down on the front porch with a little bitty system in the aquarium in one little bed. And when I seen that it really did work, and that it worked well, I took and put up a small greenhouse and run it for a year, and growed in it, eat out of it. And then come in January, one day it was about 20 degrees. I got a tomato out and had a few people come over to try it and to get their opinion. And they couldn't believe it, the taste of it. It was just as good as growing outside. And it was in January here in Oklahoma with 20 degrees. And it was a pretty sight. And so I decided right then, from here on out, I will be growing inside in aquaponics. I still practice outside just because it's in my blood, but our seriousness is in aquaponics. And we truly believe in the future, 20 years from now, biggest majority of our food will be grown that way.
Thank you.
We're pretty sure of that. Yeah. The universities. I asked OSU ag guy that was here, and I said, off the record, do you think that this is future farming? And he kind of looked at me and laughed and said, Bob, he said, that's why I'm here. He said, I'm trying to lay the groundwork, the foundation for the investors, the banks, and the farmers on how this works and what they're looking at to do it. He said, I'm laying the groundwork down for them. He said, 20 years from now, all of our food will be grown this way. And I don't know if I agree with all of it, but I believe a big majority of it will be grown this way. And that's OSU's opinion.
You're lucky because a lot of the universities haven't kept up. There's a growing problem. I'd say we might be bordering on maybe a third, except that might be skewed by West Coast, because of some legalization out there. But what we're seeing, we got a few here in the East, and the thing is they don't know anything about hydroponics or aquaponics for the most part. Most of the universities. So you're very lucky to be, if that's your home and you plan on staying there, you're lucky you got a guy that believes in it, and he's at OSU. That's really awesome. That's great news. That's good for you, man, because that's the way it's done.
Yeah, we're proud of it. And the good thing about it is I didn't have to pursue them; they pursued me. So they'll show you the interest that they have in it. So there's a big future in it, big future in aquaponics.
Yeah, I've got that kind of thing going on with me too. A little bit. I do surveys for several I mean, I'm sure most of the guys on the panels do for several universities and colleges. So,
Yeah.
it's kind of neat to get to do that and be part of it and invited to conferences and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, we've been invited to speak at the colleges and all too. And, I've always said I'm not an expert, but I'm coming to the point now where I believe I am, and I'm accepting that. And we've been going and speaking to a lot of the classes and all. That's something else we do too. Is we go to a lot of schools, and elementary schools, to educate the kids on growing and how it's done. And when they first start out, they're not show too much interest, but once they see the fish and the worms, and then they get pretty interested, and then they really take a liking to it. So we can get their attention and get the schools involved in it and the ag programs. And I think we can turn things around. I think we can get some farmers back out there again. I think some of these young people.
And you should speak too. You got your story down. You speak very well. And somebody wanted to ask a question. I'm sorry. I'm always butting in.
Sure, Roger, go ahead.
No, I'm good. I was just gonna compliment Bob on he's getting his story out and across very clearly, and he should speak at the universities for sure. So what did you want to ask him, Marty?
Oh, I was just gonna pay him a compliment too. Just that I think that the diversity in your system is a great way to go, and a lot of people tend to sell out with all lettuce or do one thing and become a one-trick pony. And so I think that a big part of the reason why they are there is because you've demonstrated that you can grow a variety of different things, which I think a lot of people on this panel are a little tired of hearing that aquaponics is only good for lettuce. So
yeah,
you may be preaching to the choir a lot, but we do that a lot too, and it's all right.
Yeah, we've got some. In the last 3-4 years, we've had some pretty good sized systems go up in aquaponics, and that's all they do is lettuce. And so everyone, when they first hear that, that's what they think's lettuce. And man, I tell you what, I don't like just eating just lettuce. I like eating other things too. So I'm gonna grow what I like to eat.
Heard that.
Yeah, I like greens, but man, I really like tomatoes too. And I think it's funny that the taste in fruit or tomatoes has been the answer a number of times. But a lot of different people in their stories about why they chose aquaponics comes down to the flavor of whatever it is they're growing. And for me included, it was tasted tomatoes.
Yeah.
Not only that, look at a week or two ago when the bottom fell out of romaine market.
Yeah,
we'll touch it.
Well, that was another salmonella outbreak thing, which only occurred on the West Coast and screws everybody because everybody on the East Coast thinks they're not.
Because consumers are not as educated as growers.
But the problem is, it's a newscast, Steve. You got to admit with me,
it's absolutely.
Don't tell you the truth. They just say, oh, and then they have a recall. Well, and then it puts the East Coast farmers out of business for the summer or the winter or whatever, because now nobody can. They just have to cull their whole crop.
The worst was a couple of years ago is cantaloupe. Cantaloupe takes minimum 3 or 4 months to grow, and then you got guys that have spent their whole summer grow season growing fields of cantaloupe, and they can't get a dime for it because no one will touch it. And that was a shame.
There wasn't any salmonella coming from an aquaponic system.
Exactly.
No, in the beginning, we had the health department around here trying to tell us we couldn't do this because of that. We had to educate them on that. Like, hey, this is cold-blooded fish. There ain't no such thing. As long as we don't contaminate it ourselves with our hands, that system ain't going to do it. And we finally got their attention on that too.
If you're probiotic, doesn't even matter if your employees are reckless. It still won't be a problem because you'll eliminate it regardless once it hits the system.
Talking about the flavor of this stuff, that's how we sell. When someone comes out that's interested in all, we'll just I like to use strawberries. I mean, I think the strawberries are the best out of this. I'll just hand them a strawberry and say, you try it for yourself. You be the judge. We'll give them a bell pepper or a tomato. No, that's all it takes. Especially if it's wintertime and it's cold outside, they're sold on it at that point.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Since you brought up strawberries, because we all believe that we have that if you have strawberries, you have mites. Do they just stay on the strawberries, or are you worried about that in the rest of your farm?
I've never had no problems with them on my strawberries.
Okay.
I've never had mites on them.
We need to learn from Bob here how to.
No, strawberries are probably the easiest thing I've done out there. Now I haven't had any problems with the mites or anything on them.
We just joke because mites or strawberries tend to, and at least on the West Coast, always come with free spider mites, or as we like to say, you buy the spider mites and get free strawberries.
Yeah, we're talking about buying starts from a nursery or a co-op.
Yeah, I'm talking about buying live plants. Or starts.
Yeah, and I was thinking about. I was actually thinking of, like you said, you hit the nail on the head. Was my afterthought was that it's a regional thing possibly too. In Oklahoma, the climate's different than in the West.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is. It's different regions. So
You get all kinds of weird.
we probably got other problems that you don't normally have just because of where we're at here. Like heat, one thing.
What are some of the problems and challenges you have in Oklahoma?
Well, the heat's probably one of the worst problems. We'll get high humidity and up over the hundreds, and that's the biggest battle I have. Like right now, we got rain and it's cold out there, but that's not a challenge. But summertime's a challenge here. If I'm not working close on it and keeping a close eye, even with everything functioning right, it's one day, one mistake, and it gets over 100 in there. Everything's gone.
What zone are you in? 7 or 8?
7.
7. Okay.
Yeah. But just other than that, it's pretty smooth. It runs pretty smooth.
So what is some of the things that you've learned over the years working in aquaponics? Maybe some tips or tricks or things that you kind of learned over the while that maybe people don't quite know.
Oh, what would you say? Just it saves on the back. There ain't no bending over. There ain't no weeds in it. I can go in there. And I got a 2,000 square foot system in operation right now, and I can go in there in 20 minutes and have everything taken care of I need to do. Just I don't hardly even pull out a test kit. I can walk through that front door and just see the plants, and I can tell if something's wrong or not. I immediately know when I walk in. It just comes as just natural after a little while, and but just making sure that the fish are happy and the water's good. It pretty much takes care of itself. It really ain't a whole lot of hard work to it or challenges, as long as you don't let it.
You got a grow light for the first time this year.
Yeah, we never used grow lights. We always used just use the light that we've got, even through the wintertime. And I can tell without using them in just the short light days, the tomatoes would lose a little bit of flavor, but not enough that it made much difference to anybody in the wintertime. We had 2 4x8 beds about 2 years ago, and we were producing 50 pounds of tomatoes a week out of them for a restaurant, and they just thought they were the best thing, and they were, for the time of year and all, they were excellent, but they wasn't as good a quality as what they are in the summertime. But this year, here just recently, we just purchased a grow light, put out there, and put on them. And yeah, we put it on the okra. We grow okra for a couple of people for medical reasons, and so we got the light to put on the okra, try to get some good growth out of it. But just since we put that in there about 2 weeks ago, we have noticed a big difference. And I got some tomatoes. We got that over a 4x8 bed, and I got a 4x16 bed right next to it. And in the end of that bed has got cherry tomatoes in it. Well, that thing is reaching out to that light, and it's grown towards the light on the other bed over top of my okra. So obviously the grow light is a big improvement out there. But we just used to not. We just used what light we had, and it done fine. I mean, and it growed and do okay. But with the light in there, we're going to do 3 times better now. So that's probably, you know, one of the lessons I've learned just recently. But as far as, you know, challenges and trying to figure things out, it comes pretty easy.
We've already killed enough fish.
Yeah, we killed a few fish in the beginning and lost a few plants trying to get that balance. You know, there's got to be a happy balance there, and that's probably the trick in it, getting it started, is finding that balance and getting that ammonia, the nitrates, and all that balanced out right in the beginning. So that's probably where we come in as valuable to these people right now, just getting it going. I just fired up one today, got the water and everything, and turned the thing on and make sure there are no leaks, and I got it running. So I'm going to introduce some fish in it probably Monday, and you know, it takes 6 weeks or so or more or less to cycle one with the nitrates and all. But we've learned to use some of our gravel in our water, and we've been able to jumpstart one in a couple weeks. And that's what I'm trying on this one here. I'm trying to see if I'm good enough to do it in 2 weeks. These guys are in a hurry to get to growing, so I told them I thought I could do it, and we fired it up today. So I'll know in 2 weeks if I know what I'm doing or not. So.
Well, Steve and them can address that, because they're always telling me, because I'm converting from hydroponics to aquaponics,
Yeah.
and that they were talking about cycling and how, you know, it takes that period of time. But they said, well, we'll send you some of our water, and you're doing exactly what, because you already have the water. So, you know, now again, Steve, or you know, Josh isn't here. He likes to talk about that too, but he could probably address that a little bit. You should be good from what I've learned from these guys. You know.
Yeah, it'll work. I've done it before. I've started systems in 2 weeks before. Then I've tried it before too, and it took 4 or 5 weeks. So you know, I don't know what the difference was there. Temperature is one thing. You know, like here in Oklahoma right now, it's cool, and if you've got a good heating system in there and keeping it good and warm, that bacteria grow a little slower. But if it's good and warm, it'll you know, it'll jump start quicker. So, you know, there's some issues there, some things that help and work against you, but for the most part, we've been able to get them started pretty quick. But this one here, I'm really focusing on. I'm really wanting this thing to go in 2 weeks, and if it does, then I'll know I've got it down, and I'm sure I do.
Have you ever tried using like a separate reservoir where you could actually heat it up to allow the microbiological and the bacteria all to grow faster, and then slowly inject it into your system?
Yeah, you can do that too. That's something else I'm going to do. I'm gonna get me a big stock tank or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking.
1,000-gallon tank, and I'm gonna incorporate it into my system to just have some seasoned water and maybe some BDA in it that I can take out and use it to stock the systems that I'm building, I'm putting in. So that way, actually, when it's put together, it's actually put together with all of my water and my media, and that way that bacteria is already in there. So I'm just going to put a reservoir into the other greenhouse and just loop it in and run my water through it just to season it. And that way I got that extra water and media. I'm not actually taking it out of my system, but it is still yet part of my system. And hopefully that'll be ready to go the day I put it in, if I get that down right.
I'm glad to hear that, because that's how I'm kind of designing mine, where I'm going to be able to, you know, now I've got there's so much great information to learn from these guys. I was really able to think about how to do it, and without having to go through some of the trials that you guys like you that have paved the way for a lot of us, or, you know, especially a guy like me that's just starting out with aquaponics.
Yeah, you know, that's
over for a while, but not aquaponics. So it's really neat to hear you talk about things that I'm thinking about, and you go, yeah, that works, you know.
Yeah, you know, that's what we've done for the past few years. Is we went out and started installing these, and what we do at our facility here on the farm is I push it to the limits. I've made it fail intentionally. I'll plant things, and then I got my information, I'll take it out and put something else in there. Even if I got red tomatoes on the vine or something, I tried a special one, and I got my testing done, I pull it out and put something else in. I do that so when I put a system in for somebody, I can tell them what works and what don't work. And, you know, pushing it to the limit and forcing it to fail, I know exactly how far you can go So we do all that research here. So when I sell a system to someone, I already know, and I take the failure for them, and got the knowledge what to do and what not to do. So our plan around here, and what we do is for everyone else, to pass that on. So it's
the only way you can teach. It's the only way you can teach. You have to, you have to do the things that you're trying to teach about. You have to do deficiencies. You have to take an area and like have an experiment and mess it up, like you said. I'm a big opponent of that type of practice. If you're going to teach people, because you have to, because maybe you're lucky and you were real good. You lost some fish, but you never really failed. See, and then. Right. But if you never fail, how are you going to help the guy that's got all these problems if you hadn't created them for yourself or gone to a class or a school? If you're privy to a big organization like that,
you can assume and you can act like you know what you're talking about, but unless you've actually done it, you really don't know. But to do it.
Tell them, by the way, over tears.
Do what now?
Tell them, by the way.
Hey, Bob. We got a couple questions from chat here. One of them is, does calcium make strawberries sweet, or does sulfur increase the berry's flavor? Do you have any opinions on that, or why you think it might be sweeter in aquaponics?
We use this water. We don't use anything.
Yeah, I don't put any additives in it, but I have just straight, what my system produces. I add nothing extra to it whatsoever. I don't add no calcium to it or no sulfur. That is something I'm fixing to do though, to give it a try, is see if it makes a difference on. But the only thing that my system gets extra is the seaweed. That's the only thing I'll add to it.
Seaweed
so
extra?
I don't know if it's the calcium or not. It's just that the healthier strawberry in aquaponics.
Very cool.
What kind of fish do you use?
We use tilapia and koi.
Okay. I want to do koi. I hate tilapia, but it'd be great for aquaponics. I just hate to eat them. So
yeah, my wife eats them. I don't care about eating them either. But
cool.
Yeah, but the koi is a little easier because of the climate and all. It's a little more forgiving. You don't have to worry about the water temperatures. The tilapia, you got to keep the water temperatures up, and this time of the year for us here, it's kind of costly, and you got to really watch that. But with the koi, it's pretty easy. You don't have to tend to them as much.
They're bulletproof, basically.
Bulletproof, they are.
I've seen them under an inch of ice, and they didn't even affect them. In a small reservoir. I didn't even realize it at the time, but I said, well, one day I said, I bet those fish are dead because it froze over. Where I live, we don't get a lot of like total freezes. We got we'll have a freeze for a couple days, But I went out there one day and there was ice this thick on the top of this, this one of those like little waterfall things, and they were in the bottom, and they were I looked down there and they were swimming around.
Yeah, that cold water don't bother them. It'll slow them down on their eating. They won't put it out as much nutrients and what have you. But
good point.
But they'll survive. Now them tilapia, but when you get down below 60 on them, they'll start beating themselves to death on the side of the tank.
Right.
They'll go in a shot, and basically that's what they do is beat themselves to death.
That's interesting. And you don't add anything. Yeah, wow. To have success with tomatoes, that's really interesting that you haven't you really use no amendments or additives or anything like that.
We had a question from chat. It says, do you have any pest problems with cucumbers or other flowering crops in your aquaponic systems?
Yeah, the aphids is our biggest problem. As long as you stay on top of them when you first see them, as long as you'll keep the ladybugs and the lacewings in there, we can keep them under control. But you gotta be expecting them and ready for them when you start seeing them, because around here it's not if you get them, it's when you get them. The cucumbers is probably, they like them better than anything that we plant in there. And when we put cucumbers in our system, you can bet you're going to have aphids. Even this time of year, the suckers pop up, and they'll get all over the cucumbers. So it's a battle with them on that. Now my tomatoes and the peppers, they'll get over on them if they get start getting out of control. You know, get a lot of winter, they'll start getting over on there. But as long as I keep it in control, they don't seem to bother them too bad. But my biggest battle is with the cucumbers.
So you had somebody else ask, how do you do with powdery mildew on your crops in aquaponics? And then I guess I'll add to that. How do you same thing with blight on your tomatoes?
No. As long as you keep plenty of air blowing on them, we keep a lot of wind. I mean, a lot of air movement, and we don't have much problem with that either. And you know, in the summertime, we open our sides up and put insect screen up, so we got good airflow through that. But we get a lot of humidity here in the summertime. But we keep it opened up with insect screen, and we don't have too much problems. I mean, we're like everybody else. You know, we'll have our times we got our battle with them, but we pretty well keep them under control.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm just going through chat here. Is there any particular tomato varieties that you've found or grown fond of?
Yeah, the beefsteak tomatoes done very well. We've put Celebrity and Early Girls in there. They do okay, but beefsteak produces, and they pollinate easily, and they'll probably produce at least 50 to 60% more than any other tomato in aquaponics.
Are you buying directly from are you buying from Bonnie's? Are you buying directly from that kind of, you know, like?
We plant from seed, and then
you do?
Also, yeah, we plant. We'll start them
I've
out.
grown Celebrity and beefsteak. That's why I asked. Sorry.
Do what now?
I've grown Celebrity and beefsteak, but they came from a farm. You know,
Bonnie.
Yeah, from Bonnie.
Yeah, we got a here where we're from, considered the garden spot of Oklahoma. It's a lot of river land, bottoms and all, and you know, it's known for its vegetables and all. And there's a truck farmer here that starts seedlings and all. And if we buy anything like that, we buy from him, you know, straight from an old farmer. Matter of fact, these guys go plumb back in the World War II, I think it was. They actually fed the army, and they pulled the trains into Bixby here and loaded up with vegetables. And so we come from a garden state area that's very heavily known as truck farming. So we've got a good abundant supply of seedlings and seeds and you know.
Yeah, that's interesting because I wondered how you were so humid. Now you just explained it. I didn't want to ask earlier because you were, you know, it didn't really matter when you mentioned you had high humidity, but I wondered about that. And you explained it if you're in a valley, yeah, you know, like in the lush area there in a valley and got water around it and stuff. That would explain that.
The Arkansas River is about a mile wide and runs right through the middle of us down here.
Oh yeah, that'll do it.
A lot of sandy ground too. The water table's pretty low also.
Yeah, I grow mostly from seed myself, but I was just wondering because you mentioned varieties that I know are grown by certain purveyors of seedlings. You know,
we've tried the heirloom in there and all different ones, and they all grow and do good, but the beefsteak, we ain't found anything to grow like that in aquaponics. The plants grow plumb to the top of the greenhouse, and they're 14 foot tall, and they look like trees. They look like an apple tree, and it bared and bared and bared. It never let up. It was probably 3 years old when I finally took it out.
Now, some people won't understand what you're saying, but you're growing vertically on a twine or a string, hung on wires or whatever, connecting above. So all your plants, you basically you prune them and they allow them to grow up, and you have your fruit sets and they go up each node and all that, and then you lean in lower. Use the lean in lower technique also. Yeah,
we do that too. We've been doing that with the what's the herb you mentioned a while ago? Eucalyptus. Where we're it's gotten so tall that I ended up leaning it, tying it over, and it's coming back up about 5 or 6 different directions now. But yeah, we do that.
And the beefsteak now, is that determinate or indeterminate? I can't remember. I can't recall.
It's permanent.
So that means it's only going to grow so big. So that's why you don't have to lean and lower it. It's going to end after the season.
Well, then I'm wrong. It's indeterminate then.
Indeterminate, your vine that'll grow 40 yards or long.
Yeah, no, that's what it is then, because it kept growing. It just kept on and kept on.
Oh, cool. So yeah. So that's why I asked, people to understand that what we do is we got a wire like 8 to, like he said, 14, Bob said 14 feet in the air. And as your plant grows, you keep pulling the string up and raising it up so that it's supported by your clips and a string or twine. I use UV protected orange poly twine myself, and you pull it up, and when it gets to when the plant grows to the top, it's starting to get in your plastic or whatever you may have up there. Then you take it and loosen it up and lean it and let it run down the side of the row. And then let it go back up until it done. You keep moving it down the row. And I've seen gardens where it circled an entire row and was coming around,
What we do is about 8 foot high, we'll hang a cattle panel, and we'll tie the strings off it, and then we'll let it grow up through that cattle panel. And when it gets up above that cattle panel up to the plastic, they'll lay over on that cattle panel, and then you can just direct it around that cattle panel around the top any direction you want to go.
That's really nice. So you're saying you put it's like a root cattle panel, which is, I'm assuming it's pipe, what you're saying, pipe, up where the plant can grow through, and then it's got something to support it, can lay there, and so you got just tomatoes hanging down.
Right. The cattle panels are they're heavy wire, and they're 4x4. No, they're 6x6 squares. So you'll have let me get on the camera here. You'll have a square about that big around right there. About it, you'll have 4 foot wide by 16 foot long on them. So it's just a heavy wire panel that we hang.
Okay.
We hang from the rafters up there 8 feet, and tie our strings off of it, and then it grows up through it. It's not pipe. It's quite a bit smaller than that.
Oh, but, so you're saying you're not using just wires, or you're using the cattle panel, then you tie all your strings to that.
Right. Now I tie my strings from that down, and then once it reaches to the top, it goes through that cattle panel, and it's small enough grid that it just lay over on it then, and then you can just let it grow it just creates a canopy above your bed of your plant, and then actually the tomatoes kind of hang down from that, and you just
That's what I'm saying.
Pretty easy to harvest.
Oh, so your tomatoes, aren't you? That's like horse fencing, right?
Right. Yeah, more like horse fencing.
You can go to Tractor Supply and buy the. Yeah, you said 4x16. I'm going. Wait a minute. That sounds like that horse fencing you sell at Tractor Supply.
Yeah, Tractor Supply is actually where I get them at.
Okay, I know exactly. They got like Bob said, they got a square like 5x5 or 6x6 inches, and then it's pretty heavy wire. It's welded wire is what it is. Welded, All right. Okay.
Works very well for that. Very well.
It'd be great for a scrod too for all you cannabis listeners out there.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
So now we understand. We know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's a great idea. I like that. I might incorporate that in my greenhouse this year, man.
You can scrog out your peppers or your cucumbers too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like the peppers vertical because if you're selling to Whole Foods, they want them the same. They don't really care, but you get more money if there's all the same size for packaging reasons. And if you do it vertically and you do the proper pruning for growing pepper plants vertically, you'll get all your peppers to be the same size because you'll have peppers at every node. But I also think, you could do that, and it would be nice too if you'll get some big peppers and you'll get some little. Well, I grow habaneros, so when I say big pepper, and little peppers. But that's some great ideas right there. I like that.
I had a big habanero crop this year in aquaponics. They've done very good this year.
I love that pepper. That's my favorite pepper, best tasting pepper, and you can almost throw a piece of habanero in a pot of spaghetti sauce or chili, and you don't even have to add any other spices.
No, that's all it takes, ain't it?
That's all it takes.
It takes no other spice once you do that.
And it cleans your pores too.
Yep. Yeah, we dehydrate ours and grind it. We make our own, put it in our own pepper shaker and all. That's
make a powder. Yeah, I got I got a mill and a dehydrator myself for the very reason, my friend.
Yeah, boy, I love it.
That's cool. Yeah, man.
What pepper varieties are you growing on that note?
There you go.
We got some bell peppers in it right now. That's been in there, what, 7 weeks now?
Mm-hmm.
And they got quite a few bell peppers on them, about ready to start harvesting. We had one plant in 4 weeks had a bell pepper about the size of a softball on it. I mean, 4 weeks and it's like that. I couldn't believe it. I ain't never seen nothing like that before. There's just only one plant in the bed, and the rest of them just had blooms on it. But we got 7 weeks now, and then they're probably a couple weeks away from harvesting.
You gotta save the seeds from that phenome that popped them early seeds, man. You gotta save that and crossbreed that with your better.
The others. Well, I would, but we had a young lady out there. She said she was an expert on vegetables or organic, and she could tell if it was real or not. So we ended up pulling that off and letting her have a bite of it, and her what was it, 2-3-year-old daughter eat the whole thing.
Said it was the best she'd ever had.
I guess she spit the seeds out, but man, they was over scarfing that thing down. But she was challenging us. She thought we pulling her leg, and she said, "I'm a pro." And I said, "Well, here, you tell me what you think." And before it's all said and done, she's like, "I think you know what you're doing." She liked it. Yeah.
Speaking of difficult stuff to grow, I'm curious about hearing more about the moringa trees. I mean, those are that's some hard stuff to grow.
You know,
talk about that some more.
I tried to plant some of them a couple of years ago and get them going, and I was having a hard time getting them to germinate, and I kind of just blowed it off. And then I was at a preppers meeting, and a guy was walking around with 2 of them, and I recognized what they were, and I said, "Hey, what you got there?" He said, "A couple of moringa trees." I said, "Where'd you get them at?" He said, I started them." He had them in a 2-liter bottle, and he was telling me how you had to keep them in a cylinder, planted in the cylinders, because the root grows so deep. Because I guess where they originated from, they're dry climate, and the roots grow so deep from moisture on. He was saying you can't plant them in aquaponics because it's too wet. And I'd already been studying them, already had an idea, and I said, "Well, what are you going to do with them?" He said, "I don't know. I think about selling them." I asked him, I said, "Well, what do you want for them?" He said, "I'll take $5 a piece." I said, give them to me. I bought them. I brought them back to the greenhouse. I had them out there in the dirt for 2 or 3 weeks, and they were dying on me. I mean, I couldn't keep them alive. So I thought, all right, I'm going to lose them anyway, so I'm going to put them in aquaponics here and see what happens. They were 5 inches tall when I stuck them in. We just took it out here about end of October. End of October when we took it out.
Put it in there in June.
Yeah, we put it in at the 1st of June. It was 5 inches tall. When I took it out, it was 5 inches around the base of the trunk, and the thing was grown 14 foot tall into the top of my greenhouse, hit the plastic and turn and come down 2 foot. That thing grew 14 to 16 foot tall in 5 months and had a 5 inch trunk on the thing. I've never ever seen anything grow like that in the aquaponics. I'm going to do it again and log everything and do my research on it, because that's one thing that one university is interested in because of the nutrition and all things.
Did you take cuttings? Did you take cuttings and root them?
Yeah, I do. I've got some out there now that I took off of that when I took it up, got it out.
You like some?
Hey, I tell you what, I took the cuttings off and stuck them in, and within 3 days it had new growth on it already.
We have a tree. We live here in Los Angeles, so we have a giant tree actually in the garden. That's it's a couple of years old, and rooted really deeply, and it doesn't die off in the winter. But, and you know, so because my Filipino family, the other side of my family is old Filipino gardeners. So, but you know, we got that one from a clone, from a cutting, you know, from a rooted cutting. But you can start the seeds, and we started a couple of seeds this last, you know, a couple of months ago. And the trick with the seeds is they have to be really fresh. They have to come right off the tree. They can't be even a few weeks old. I think they won't germinate. So that's what I've heard.
No,
And
no.
you're absolutely right about the sudden, really fast, deep rooting. It wants to root really deep, like as far as it wants. You know.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
When I was in Jamaica, what we learned is that and Mr. Green Jeans here, a little background.
Oh, sorry.
So with the moringa seeds, you want to score the seeds. You take a razor blade and scratch the seeds.
Yeah.
Make it so that the seeds can open, because once they get desiccated to a certain point, it's hard for the seed to actually break through the seed casing. So if you score the seed, it can actually burst out, and then soaking the seeds beforehand, before germination, the same way we talked about with the cannabis seeds that I have on the YouTube page, was really, really important. Those two things seem to be what actually made the difference for germination. We actually had a whole grove of them. There's also a very large moringa tree farm using aquaponics. Well, kind of aquaponics, I would say. A version of aquaponics, a drain to waste aquaponics, I guess would be the best way to put it. Out in the desert in California, and they have, I think it's 2.2 million gallon tilapia tanks, and they have a drain to waste, and they run all that aquaponics water, or the aquaculture water, out to those groves of moringa trees.
Okay. Drain to waste. I was freaking out that they're wasting all that, but okay, now you're saying they're diverting it to the moringa tree farm. Yep. That's cool. That's cool. Well, hey, Bob, will you send me a couple if they root? Will you send me one?
Yeah, we can do that. I got a bag of the seeds right here. I'm fixing to start working on them here, not too far down the road here. I'm gonna start trying to.
You'll sell them to you, $20 each.
Another cool thing about the seeds is if you grind the seeds up, they're actually a pretty good sweetener. When they're fresh, they're pretty sweet. If they come out right, they're very, very tasty. You can actually use them to like sweeten up like tea, or just eat them raw. I used to eat them raw all the time in Jamaica.
Huh. That's good.
How would that affect some people can't eat any seeds of any type? I'm sorry, we're taking away from Bob's part, but we're getting in there.
I have no idea as far as seed and allergies.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, all right.
It's a legume, so it's not in the same family as most of your traditional nuts.
Not like a nut. It's more
it's more like a or a bean.
You got to.
I heard you can eat too many. You can OD on them, is what I've heard. If you eat more than about 5 or 6, they make you poop a lot or something like that. Get the shits.
Laxative.
I've eaten a bunch of them like back to back to back, and I haven't had problems, but I have heard that you can eat too many.
Huh.
The husks, the shells are very good goat feed as well. Just to feed them to our goats.
So what do you think, Bob? Do you eat the seeds?
No, I'm afraid to now. OD.
Oh, just
get myself to death.
Eat them like M&Ms. That's all.
Poop yourself to death.
Yeah.
Powerful medicine. I think you only need a few. Like, right, the leaves of the moringa tree are ridiculous. Right.
Now, why don't you tell people a little bit about the moringa you're growing and why you're growing it?
Well, every time I'm told I can't do something, I go out and try it and show them I can do it. One thing we learned is if it's a plant, a tree, or something that's what I call dry feet, like dry feet, will drain soil. You put it in aquaponics, even though it's all water. If you add plenty of air, it won't drown out. And anything that's likes dry ground, and you put it in there and you add the air to it like that, when it grows, it outgrows anything I've ever put in there. just like the moringa tree. You know, he said, you know, likes a dry climate and the water will kill it and all. I just made sure I had a lot of air in that bed to make sure it didn't drown out. And anytime we've done that with, you know, like lemon trees and orange trees that we've got in there, it grows. When they say it won't grow and you do that, it grows better than anything I've ever had in there. But the moringa tree, just because of the nutrition of it and all, we're about growing things that we can eat, and then someday if we have to rely on it, we focus on things that's good for medicine, but things that you can actually survive off of. So in the future, if we ever need it, I've got a handful of different things that I'm going to plant just for survival's sake, and the moringa tree is one of them. That's one reason I was so intrigued and interested in getting it going, just because of the health benefits of it and all.
That's a good plan.
That's like our okra. Okra so far has been the biggest challenge. Okra likes, you know, high humidity and heat. It's when it thrives and does the best. It done good all summer long, but now that the light's shorter and things are cooler, even though I heat my water, I have a heater that keeps my water temperature all in the 70s. I thought that would compensate for it and make it do okay, but it's struggling. I'm gonna have to approach it some other way. That's one thing we put the grow light on to help it, but we grow okra for medical reasons too. We've got a few people that's got diabetes, and okra is one thing that turns diabetes around, and we've seen it eliminate diabetes in 2-3 people, and so we're going to try to get it down to where we can supply them year round to keep the diabetes in check.
Just be careful. Oklahoma was the state where a couple was busted with the greenhouse. They had the DEA come in with the raid and guns and the whole nine, thinking their okra was weed. Granted, times have changed a lot since then. That was about 3 years ago, but it wasn't Oklahoma.
Hey,
when I first started, I was doing vegetables indoors under grow lights just because I saw a guy doing it, and I said, I didn't think anything about the cost or whatever. I just said, here's a guy sitting in a room with tomatoes and cucumbers and lettuce and peppers, and and he's like sitting in his room. I said, that's cool. So that's kind of how I got into it. And people are going, yeah, but don't let them see you got any kind of, grow. I mean, like you still had to privatize your room, or they were going to kick your door in thinking you're growing pot. That was a funny thing that you bring that up. That's part of my.
I've had the helicopters fly over me and hover 3 or 4 times. They've looked me over. They haven't come up to the door, but they have sat there and checked it out from helicopter 3 times. I know here at the house. Then I've got another one at my brother's where I actually started with the biggest one, and they've circled it a few times too. So they're watching to see what's going on.
You know what's sad is because it's aquaponics or hydroponics, greenhouse kind of things, indoor, and it bugs them out. Because if you're just an old salt farmer, who probably a lot of them grow cannabis too, allegedly, but it's just all of a sudden you got this indoor growing going on, and it's just got to be cannabis. It couldn't be growing medicine. Even though you're growing veggies that is considered as medicinal or holistic value to it.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. I love that. They just assume you're up to no good, though.
Yeah, and a lot of people are, so but still.
I had a guy a few years ago that was putting a system in, and I was selling him the media and some stuff, and his stepson mentioned something at school about he was prepping, and the teacher called the law and said, I don't remember what she said, but anyway, they come and kicked his door down, and they confiscated everything he had, and he had some guns, and he had some gunpowder in a basement, and he had his aquaponics in a basement, and they said he was a terrorist, and they took him to jail and broke him. And he wasn't doing nothing any different than what I'm doing. And
well, it's not illegal to have gunpowder, really, is it?
No, it's not. But they said he was preparing for. I don't remember
when the lights go out.
I had a name for it, which was ridiculous in the first place. But they broke him, and right then I thought, man, I got to be careful about what I say and what I'm doing, because if they just assume, then they give them the right to come in and kick your door down and see what you're doing.
Now, what do you mean by they broke him? You mean they ruined his business and his farm?
Right. They drained his bank account. I mean, he's fighting it and lawyers and all that, and he ended up he moved out of the country. He went somewhere else. But I didn't know
so he couldn't have won a lawsuit. He couldn't have won and then filed a lawsuit and ended up with enough money to build a new farm.
Yeah, he could have. He'd had a lawsuit because they were wrong.
Yeah, okay, yeah, but
they just frustrated him so bad, and he just realized that he was going to have problems no matter what, and he just wanted out of here.
It's not safe to drive down the road if you're suing the law enforcement, right?
Right.
Allegedly.
Right.
Yeah. That's too bad, man. But yeah, everybody's gone through that a little bit. Some of us have been lucky and some not, but that's an interesting, you share that story, because that's what's sad about it. You know, for the most part, nothing any of us are doing, you know, is morally wrong. You know, yet because we're trying to do things that are new and not understood by people that are not in the industry, whether they be law enforcement or not. And then they persecute people that are trying to be different and do better things and have better, you know, way. Well, it just, in my case, even with hydro, and even though there's some salts involved, I still find that it's a lot better. I know I'd rather eat that than go to the store. I'd rather grow my own food that way than go to the store and not know where the hell it came from, you know. And my tomatoes taste pretty damn good too.
Yeah.
And I want to say a quick thing about tomatoes, since I accidentally fell into it. Heirlooms is one of them things where you got to find the one strain that works good for you. You got to keep trying, like, because they're so different and so they're unique. Each of them are unique to each other, and then you know, they taste so much different that I've found with, you know, because I've tried a whole bunch of different. I love to try to find heirlooms that grow well in my environment without me changing a whole lot, you know. So that's just something you got to keep trying, an heirloom every season or so. You know, even though you know the beefsteak's the best, but if you want to find something cool, you keep trying one or two a season. You might just cull one because it's doing nothing, you know, or you might be able to crossbreed it with something else you like. If you have, for some reason, the one tomato you got, you know, was something you really liked, you know, or the few tomatoes you got you really liked, maybe you could cross it with a beefsteak somehow, you know, and end up with an interesting tomato.
Well, heirloom.
Well, you know what, heirloom. Oh, now you put me on the spot now. My group. No, I can't think of the name because you caught me out there. I've had a long day and I wasn't.
That's all right.
Let me think about it for a minute, and I'll pop in later. But you know what? My favorite tomato of all time was the Ace F1.
Which one?
Ace
F1
F1 tomato. I grew perfectly beautiful red globes, and there was no water or seeds hardly in it at all. It was just meat. You know, that some of that has to do with my formula, my solution, but the genetics. It's like, you know, when you're talking about it, it's all about genetics. We know that the beefsteak. Reason you like the beefsteak is because it's genetically, you know, was developed to grow a big tomato, right? Big, you know, so. You know, regardless of what kind of system you're growing it, you should get a really nice, big, fat, you know, beefsteak kind of tomato. So I think that's what I was thinking when you were talking about that earlier. I like the Celebrity, okay, but that's not an heirloom. And you put me on the spot, and I feel asleep.
I like Celebrity. I like Celebrity too. That's Celebrity is one of the
Yeah, those are real nice for sandwiches, and you know, like a nice a sandwich on toast, or eating. I like beefsteak for like when I do burgers or something like that.
Cover that big bun, huh?
Or actually, you can just take a piece of beefsteak and cut it about that thick and put it on the hamburger bun all by itself with mayonnaise and salt and pepper, and that'll be good.
I like that too. I like that a lot.
Steve, we got Marty. We got any more questions in chat for Bob? Or did you have anything more formatted?
Had someone ask if you're using TDZ or thiazolone, or they also call it tissue culture.
Ask me that again. I didn't hear you.
Are you doing any tissue culture?
No.
There you
No.
Have you thought about it?
No, I haven't thought about it.
Okay.
No.
We will probably, I don't either much, but we will be in the next 2 or 3 years, because a lot of people are doing it, and some people believe it's the aces, and people don't want
industry for vegetables and cannabis will switch to it, we assume.
eventually.
Uniformity of production and the fact that you can produce virus-free plants on a predictable schedule really changes a lot of the agricultural business.
And that'll be more for commercial agricultural too.
Commercial.
For Joe homeowner so much, but for growing a big several acre farm with thousands of plants. Yeah. Right? Is that right, Steve?
Yep. What type of fish do you grow?
He told us koi and tilapia.
Yeah.
Koi and tilapia.
Koi and tilapia, mostly tilapia. I mean, if I had to pin one down, I grow a lot of tilapia. Now, I've got one set up that I'm running my koi in just to see the difference in them in my fish, but I'm partial to the tilapia. People out here, when they think aquaponics, they think tilapia, and that's what they expect to see. I've had some tilapia. I've got some of my tilapia out there are 8 years old, and they're huge, so they're kind of my babies. I like messing with them, but like I said, the koi are much easier to deal with. I mean, they're much easier to get along with, and I don't have to worry about them as much.
Well, with the fact that you expand and do different things with your farm, why don't you have enough? Since we talked about this earlier, in case somebody came in late, and maybe that's where that question came from. Well, was it? Why don't you grow? Since you don't like tilapia, like I don't like tilapia to eat them, why don't you have a reservoir or a system, maybe what redundant, like closed loop redundant? Isn't that right? I think where you could grow a fish that you like to eat.
Well, I'm allergic to seafood, so I can't eat seafood, and I guess I relate fish to seafood. I just don't like any fish.
Well, it's a mercury thing with the seafood, right?
Yeah, that's what the problem is there. I can eat fish, but I don't like it.
So you don't really care for fish in the first place?
I just don't care for it, period.
I never did till I was an adult and worked in a restaurant. Then I found out that if you cook fish correctly, it's pretty good. But yeah, okay.
Now, but I am fixing to, this next greenhouse I'm putting up, I'm going to have approximately 20 4x8 beds in it, and I'm going to take 2 beds in pairs, and I'm going to put a one tank for every 2 beds, and I'm going to put different species in it, and try a little bit of everything, different things, just to show people what you can do. Some things put out more nutrients than others. Some are slow, like crawdads. They don't put out a whole lot, but a lot of people around here like that. So I'm gonna put them in there and try that, and I'm gonna put perch in one, catfish in one, the freshwater shrimp in one, and
so is that because you want to find out the nutritional value of the waste that you
I'm gonna find out which ones do better, which ones put out more waste, do some studying on it. But I get questions all the time, is tilapia all you can use, is koi all you can use, but you can use anything. It's just, depends on what you want in the system. Are you wanting to eat out of it? Are you wanting to produce it as fast as you can? Are you wanting to make a living out of it? That's some of the research that we've been doing. If you wanting to make money out of it, I'll tell them 5 different vegetables to grow, which in our market are the money makers, and they do well. They grow quickly in aquaponics. So If you're gonna go that route, this is what you want to plant. If you're wanting to just feed your family out of it, this is what you want to do. You want to use, if you want to eat out of it, you don't obviously want to go with tilapia because they grow fast. And,
Right.
and so it just depends on what you want out of it is what you're going to use. And I want to show, when they come out to look, I want to show them every scenario when they come out and find out what they want. I'll say, like this system right here, I've got catfish in it. This is what we're growing with it. This is what you want to use.
All right, can I ask a couple questions then?
Yes.
First off, all right, number one is, do you sell tilapia for food? And the second one would be, what are the 5 produce that you feel like cultivars of produce you feel like you need to grow for money?
Well, here we can't legally butcher the fish and sell them. I have to sell them.
You can sell it live. That's how it is here. Yeah. You can sell it live. Yeah. They can butcher it, right? All right. So you really don't grow tilapia for money then. Okay.
No. If it's someone I know, I'll do it, but I don't advertise it. I let them,
we like to.
We'll put them on ice. That way, when they get them, take off with them, they're not flopping, and they're ready to be butchered. But
how we like to say those kinds of things is we like to preface them with the word allegedly.
You don't have to. I don't have a problem selling them. I mean, there's plenty of people out there to buy.
Right.
They'll come and get them, and not everyone wants to butcher them themselves, but there's a lot of people that will.
Well, you've got the same guidelines we have here, because I was talking with the local people, and I found out with our DNR and our Department of Agriculture that I could grow them and sell them as long as I didn't butcher them. Right. As long as I sold them to them live, so to speak. And like you said, well, you could throw them on ice for a little bit, or whatever. Yes. But all right, so what about the 5 best crops that you? Because I can't let you get by with that. You go, well, I tell them the best ones to grow for money. We got to know.
I was going to say
tomatoes. You can sell tomatoes all day long here. I mean,
right.
I couldn't grow enough tomatoes. I can sell them all, but the tomatoes and the strawberries and your lettuces, your romaine lettuce and peppers and cucumbers. That'd be the main things that we'd want to focus on here.
Okay.
And they all grow good. They all grow rapidly.
Yeah. It's what your table salad. You're like me: tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, and
just your salad, basically.
Lettuce. Yeah, table salad. All right. Yeah, that's the same thing. I can't. What was the 5th one though? And then Steve had another question about the fish, I believe.
The peppers.
No, peppers, tomatoes, cucumbers, and lettuce.
Cucumbers and strawberries.
Strawberries. Okay, yeah. Strawberries. Okay. And strawberries do sell good, and they're high dollar for the farmer.
Right.
It's like, that's why habanero peppers are so cool, because I think Bob will agree with me. You get more money for habanero than any other pepper you can sell.
Oh yeah. Yeah, people want them, man. I can't grow enough of them either.
Oh yeah, I love them. Steve, you wanted to comment, and I cut you off, or we cut you off because we were.
Now we're allowing EK guns as well, as long as you don't cut them with a knife. They are allowing, depending on what state you're in. Certain states are allowing EK guns now as well, which are nice because you can just kill the fish right away. And you don't have to deal with a knife and cutting heads off and gutting fish and all that. You can just.
Is that like shocking them?
I have a YouTube video on my
okay.
On my channel, but it's basically, it looks like a hot glue gun, and it has a spring-loaded piston in it, and you put it against their temple and you pull the trigger, and away goes their brain.
Well, that's the same as how they used to kill cows, kind of, sort of. Yeah.
Yep. It's just a way to instantly kill the fish, so you don't have any kind of stress hormones. Makes the meat taste a little better.
Yeah, because we all know stress, whether it be poultry or deer or whatever. If they get stressed, they taste more gamey.
Yeah, that and tough too. They're tougher.
Because they
scare.
Tighten up. They tighten them muscles up and get them. And it makes it tough.
I know this. You flop them on the table, and there's a video. On my YouTube channel, you can see within about 4 seconds it's dead. As long as it takes for that electrical signal to stop going through its body. So it's really the most ethical way. I know if I was a fish, that's how I would want to go, rather than
not a hook in the mouth. not a hook in the mouth and a slap up the side of the head.
Right.
And the other thing is,
The blade live.
you grow koi, right? So we've talked about this a lot because in my evolution learning about aquaponics and exactly how I wanted to set things up, one of the things that we've talked about many times on the show is koi and how you can buy your fingerlings for a couple bucks, and then later on you can sell that koi for $80 or even higher if you get the right species, as Steve is really he knows a lot about. But or trying to provide like using a fish stock that you can sell to pet stores. Have you ever done that or tried that at all?
No, I haven't tried that, but it's true. There's a company here local that sell koi, and they sell them for show and all. And if you get the right markings on them, it'll be worth a lot of money. But even when we have the right markings around here, with some good size, it's still worth a lot of money. I mean, there's a market in that. If you if you know how it works and all, and get in there, there's a good market for koi. I actually know a boy here that advertises them over the internet, and he sells a lot just over the internet.
With or without their proper markings, right? He just because they're koi.
Yeah, if it's got the right markings, then they're worth thousands.
Right, they could be hundreds of thousands.
Maybe the size they'll be worth hundreds.
Right.
So,
yeah, you'll always be worth hundreds if you get them big enough. But you can basically, I've been told by people. In fact, a company that I can't mention out in California, that I know that one of the things, they take the $2 fingerlings and then they grow them to the size where they can get $80 to $100 for them.
yep.
And they actually, because they turn their system over and change the fish out so they're not all too big, so they can keep raising more small fish. So if they
you can you can buy different grades of them. So you can buy them as a higher grade. It's got the potential of the right markings and all around here. So if you were going to do aquaponics for the money for a business, that probably would be the way to go. Another thing, we've grown some flowers. Debbie's put some different species of flowers in there that's done real well, and she's wanting to take one greenhouse and just do nothing but potted flowers, all the little what do you call it, the little plastic container like you can buy at Lowe's and them places in the springtime. She's wanting to start flowers like that in aquaponics. And
it's clamshells kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
But you know what, the thing, peonies. All right, I've thought about flowers and where the money's out on. Yeah, it sounds like you guys don't need to be told. I'm probably telling you something you already know or preaching.
I don't know at all. I can tell you that right now.
Peonies is the #1 selling wedding flower. Peonies. It's the #1 flower used at weddings, and weddings are billion-dollar businesses.
Yeah.
And so if you want to have flowers, one of the things you need to include so you can sell them for weddings to places that do weddings and plan wedding planners. There's a big market out there already for you to reach out to and sell this to. See if you can grow peonies.
Peonies?
Yeah, it's a wet peonies. Yeah, I want to say PIONESE, but I would just say wedding flower, peonies, and spell it however, like I just did. And it's a wedding flower. It's one of the top wedding flowers, or the #1 wedding flower used at weddings. It's not roses or just stuff like that. It's peonies. So when there's a wedding, if they have money, if they're doing they're spending money on the wedding, the flowers are generally peonies. And I think it's white too.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. It's like that eucalyptus. We've got the flower shop around here wanting that eucalyptus. She's just now fixing to start harvesting off that one. So there's a market here for the flower departments and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, it's all over. It's the thing is, we don't think about it when we start growing food, or
I know
how you can add value to your farm.
Right. There might be more value in them flowers than there are in them tomatoes.
Well, I'm telling you, that's a very good point. That's why I shared that with you. I wasn't sure if you knew, but I do know that I'm thinking about, once I get to aquaponics, I'm going to have a dedicated bed you know, and I'm going to look at the value, because I'm of the belief that I'm not going to do thousands of plants until I know I can sell them, because I tried that already. I'm going to do a bed or so with peonies and see when I want people wanting them when I don't have them. And then I'll know that, all right, now I'll make a whole greenhouse out of and grow peonies, you know, with aquaponics and all of that, you know. So, but that's a flower. That's a high dollar. That's like a habanero of flowers.
Yeah.
That's what I'm sharing with you. I'm just sharing that with you, since you'll mention you. I'm saying you should get Debbie to sit in the chair beside you, and so you know, because she
you know, she usually won't let me do the talking. She's usually the one on here. I don't know what she's doing tonight. But she was willing to have one in the class this weekend. Oh, go ahead, Steve.
Correct me if I'm wrong, with the peonies, don't you need ants to get the plants to properly bloom and pollinate? Isn't that correct? Or is that wrong?
I'm not. I don't know, because I'm looking into doing it, so I haven't researched that. I just know that I look at things that you have the biggest margin, and that's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to do it. So since I haven't set up my new grow op, I haven't done that research, because I'm always doing research on what's currently happening. And I know that sounds like I'm not planning very well. And if somebody else has an answer for that,
traditionally in soil growing, at least, they need the ants for the blooms to open. But again, I don't know if that's a requirement or if that's just something that aids in the process.
I may have heard that, and it was probably from you when I talked about peonies before. But since I haven't gotten to where I'm going to see, what I'll do is, it's not rocket science. It's growing a flower, and granted, you have to learn how to make it adapt to your system and environment and all that. But I didn't do that research yet, and I apologize. So that's going to be my homework for the week. I'm going to go and find out. I would think you would. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just going to say I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. But basically, that's just pollination, and somehow there's always a way to do artificial pollination, I feel. You know, but ants might be what drags something from point A to point B. Of course, you know, then, yeah, that'd be kind of freaky to incorporate where you needed ants to make your grow work.
We have the, remember we had a couple of weeks ago, we had that woman from Italy that was growing saffron on aquaponics, remember?
Oh, yeah, well, she was incredible. Bob, you probably didn't. Maybe Steve can pull up the episode, but we had a young lady whose father is an aquaponics guy in Italy, and she was up at 3 o'clock in the morning talking to us and telling us all about, like you're doing, like where I just do basic aquaponics. I don't have all the dual root zone and all these amendments, and I'm not messing with it too. You made it perfectly clear. I think you balanced the nitrogen with the ammonia. You get that. You got to get that balance. That's what you said. You have to get that balance. For you, it was the balancing the nitrogen and the ammonia.
Right.
So her father's kind of done that in Italy.
They're growing saffron. Is that what you said, saffron?
Well, that's what Steve said. They grow everything like you do, kind of, but they do have specialties, because you build your own niche in the market. And that's what, like you said, some people. Like you said earlier, you mentioned, and I was always told, well, don't have any different things in your greenhouse. You're going to grow peppers, grow peppers. You're going to grow tomatoes.
Yeah, we hear that same thing. That's what everyone says.
You know what? I want to eat.
Yeah, I do too. And peppers every day get up after a while. I want others.
Hey, I got a cucumber for you to try. If you want to try the most crispy, best tasting cucumber I ever had, it's called a Diva. And they sell them at Johnny Seeds.
Johnny Seed?
Yep, and it's that's a family-owned farm that hadn't got bought out by the evil demon Monsanto.
Yeah, we buy from them some.
Oh, I've always loved them, because if I call them up and say that I didn't have the germination rate that I thought I was going to get, they just send me another pack of seeds. There's never, but I buy from them because they're family-owned and it's all organic farming up in the Northeast. And but they've got a cucumber that won a blue ribbon for the best tasting cucumber ever.
I'll have to look into that.
It's called a Diva, and they tell them the best harvest 4 or 5 inches, which is great for making dills. You know, but they're a seedless, barkless cucumber also. But if you grow them about 6 to 7 inches and chop them up, they're like, just throw some salt on them. It's incredible. I mean, it's always crunchy. I used to sell them, like the restaurants, they were nuts over these because they'd say, wow, they sit there all day and they're still crunchy at the end of the day in the salad bar. You know, so they really like that.
How about asparagus? Have you done asparagus in there?
No, you know what? I haven't done. I really want to do asparagus and broccoli, but I'm scared away from the time it takes to get a harvest.
Asparagus does really well. It takes quite a while. There's a lot of downtime where it's not doing anything other than growing through your media bed, which kind of sucks.
That's why I don't do that.
There's too much of a downside to be commercially viable. Broccolini is much better for aquaponic growers than broccoli. Broccoli just gets too big and takes up too much time. But a lot of broccolini, even in soil, is 30 days. To start harvesting broccolini. And aquaponics, that's like 24. So broccolini in particular, especially the red variety broccolini, can be extremely profitable. Remember, brassicas do very well in aquaponics because unlike other, pretty much almost all other plants have no endomycorrhizal companionship. So they don't have any mycorrhizae that they actually like to have in their root systems, unlike pretty much everything else we ever talk about. So that's why they do particularly well. Kale, mustard greens, cabbages, broccoli, all your brassicas do really well in that.
Real well.
Yeah, and the Swiss chard does real well too. Grows big.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, all your beets and radishes do really well in aquaponics as well.
Oh yeah, radish will grow in anything.
Turnip.
So is there any other last tips or tricks before we let you go?
What about pineapple? You ever tried pineapple?
Oh yeah, I've done pineapple. The problem with pineapple is it doesn't seem to take any time on it. It'll grow really quickly, but in terms of fruiting, it doesn't really fruit any faster than it does in a normal soil grown, as far as I can tell. Now I haven't really tried pushing it with a dual root zone and really trying to crank it, but as best I can tell, it kind of has more of a fixed timeline as far as blooming, whereas like peppers, cucumbers, tomatoes, all that, I can force them to bloom within 2 weeks of germination, but I can't with pineapple. There doesn't seem to, and cactuses. I've tried doing cactuses. I've grown prickly pear cactus from seed a couple of different times, a couple of other cactuses, and they seem to also have a much more fixed timeline. You can't.
They like dry climate too.
Hard for them. Very hard to artificially speed them up. No, I have some other cool tricks like phycocyanin and isolates and some other things. I haven't tried those. I haven't tried pushing them the way I have cannabis and peppers, but to a lesser extent cucumbers. But definitely, I think that it's there's a handful of crops that have either genetics or the phenome type I'm working with, or the cultivar, I guess would be the other way to put it, are not particularly accepting of trying to speed them up in any way, even through aquaponics with the increased gas exchange.
Well, I wanted to ask you something about the pineapple. Getting back to that, though, Stephen, I would think when you say that, well, you didn't get to do the yield. Pineapple is a tree, right?
No, pineapple is actually a bromeliad. It's the only edible bromeliad in the whole family.
But wouldn't it be a multi-year type plant?
Yes, I believe it's the second or third year that it has it. When we did it, the plants I had were already started when I grew it, and they were already, I think, about a half a year to a year old. And by the second year, we got them to produce. But the fruit we got wasn't particularly large. It was extremely sweet. It tasted great, but the size wasn't really commercially viable. Plus, if you look at the way that pineapples are commercially grown, it's just one of those things that's not viable. It's like fruit trees. Like, unless you're growing them in Canada or Norway or Sweden, it doesn't make sense to do tropical fruit trees, indoors unless you can get a premium.
Oh, indoors. Okay.
Or to a lesser extent, like head broccoli or artichoke. Okay, both of those plants are enormous plants that have to grow 2.5, 3, 4 months before they're going to produce anything, and that simply just is not commercially viable for a gentleman like we have on the show right now, who is limited on grow bed space. I mean, you know, it just wouldn't make sense to dedicate a whole 4x4 or 6x6 area to a single plant, you know.
Unless it was diverted, like you said, you used, unless he put it outdoors and diverted it and let it grew it like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same way like
high
CBD.
humidity, which pineapple comes from a humid region.
Yeah, I mean, like, you mean if you're going to do one, you know, below 5% CBD, it makes a lot more sense to do it in soil and supplement with aquaculture water than does to do.
Oh, and again, you were talking commercial viability.
Yeah, again, this talk comes down to how much time it takes to harvest, process, and package, or whatever. You know, certain crops just simply do not make any sense to do in aquaponics. So, you know, if something takes more than 3 to 4 months, generally it's not worth it in aquaponics unless the margins are very, very good.
But if you wanted to just grow a plant to have pineapples, it would be viable for somebody that wanted to do it for their own use.
Well, if someone wants to throw one in their system at home, just in the corner, absolutely, you'll get a pineapple eventually.
That's what I was getting at.
That's what we done. We just put
That's what I was getting at.
one dual root zone just to see what it would do.
And you're doing a dual root zone.
Yeah, that's what we're doing with it.
I wasn't sure about that. That's okay. I understand.
Do some side by sides, man. Do some side by sides where you got the same age plant material, and you'll be surprised, man.
Yeah, see, that's awesome. See, that's awesome information there. You know,
You feed your fish to pineapple?
Oh yeah, pineapples is probably these, like, if you have a TV crew coming over, or you're shooting a YouTube video, and you want those fish to go ape shit and absolutely ballistic, you throw a little pineapple juice, you throw some pineapple chunks in there, they will go absolutely crazy, man. I don't care if they're carnivores or herbivores. They love pineapple. It's like giving sugar to a 3-year-old, man. They will just go ballistic.
Didn't you say that in the class? Didn't you teach that in your class the other day?
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, you brought that up in the class the other day. Yeah, that was a great class, everybody. The Steve and Marty's class on aquaponics and all, and Debbie attended.
Yeah, Debbie. I was working on the system and all, but Debbie, she stuck with it all day. I hit and missed on it.
Yeah, so that's a great tip if you have a fish that's not eating, it's a little bit sick, maybe a newer fish, and he doesn't have anything externally wrong with him. You could have something internally wrong with them, especially the digestive tract, depending on what species of fish. You know, feeding them garlic is definitely a good way to help make sure their digestive tract is nice and clean. And also a great way to entice a fish that's maybe just shy, maybe he doesn't like all the noise or banging around or the air pumps or the new fish with the system or whatever, you know, whatever the thing stressing him out is. Garlic seems to be something that entices fish, or garlic and pineapple juice. You mix the two together, you know, put that juice on your fish food, and then put that in there. 9 times out of 10, you're gonna get them to eat.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's good. I thought
your water chemistry is okay, obviously.
Well, I think that's all I know.
I doubt that.
Before we wrap things up with you,
say that again.
Did you have any other questions for the panel before we start wrapping things up with your segment?
I don't have no more questions or anything. I would like to invite you guys out sometime to see my place. Everyone's welcome to it. That's one thing I've always said about my place. It ain't just mine. It belongs to everybody. So,
here.
And I truly mean that. Yeah, I got everything I got to share from my knowledge of what I'm doing out there.
And the good food you grow, right?
And the food I grow, you can come eat all that you want.
You got horses?
Yeah, I got horses. I got goats. I got pigs. I got a llama. I got everything you can think of.
Well, see, I love riding horses, and I've ridden across the country, and I won't get into that right now, but I've ridden. I'll get in contact with you, but if I came out, I'd want to be if I go to Oklahoma, I want to ride a horse. I want to ride.
You get on a horse. That's all we're about out here, horses and rodeos.
You got Mustangs?
I used to have Mustangs. I don't have none right now.
I love Mustangs, man.
A couple quarter horses and a couple halflingers that pull wagon.
Sorry about the little sound there.
That's not, that wasn't that bad. We've had some interesting sounds tonight, you know. It's been great. Bob, I tell you what, you were a great guest. I hope you stick around and listen to us shoot the shit and ask some questions, like chime in and, just use your, damn. Yeah, stoner moment, I guess. Your
perspective. Perspective.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I stuck around here for a little bit.
Why don't you tell people how to find you and if they're looking for you guys online?
It's RiderFarmsAquaponics.com is on the internet. We do most everything over Facebook, which is Rider Farms is our produce site, and Rider Farms Aquaponics. We probably do 90% of our communicating over Facebook. So you can friend us and join us on there. Again, it's Rider Farms Aquaponics or Rider Farms. Two different sites there. And then RiderFarmsAquaponics.com is a website.
Got pictures?
Do what?
Got lots of pictures?
I don't have a whole lot of pictures, but I will be putting a lot of pictures on here soon. I've got another gentleman that's going to take over my website and take care of it for me and run it. And he has given me orders to get him lots of videos and lots of pictures. So that will be coming here real soon.
More pictures equal more sales, man.
Yeah.
We visit, we'll bring a camera. Snap it.
I'm real good about getting my hands dirty, but I'm not real good on the on this computer.
Well, as opposed to a lot of guests that aren't used to a computer, your voice and video came through perfect tonight. So kudos on that, because we've had some nightmares, especially with people that never touch a computer. I didn't have one till 2005, and I'm pretty adept at it now. But and Marty's an IT guy, but it's understandable that guys our age don't really always pick up. If we didn't have computers, didn't need computers, we don't really have them, or didn't know how to work on them. But you did great, man. I mean, and your system worked great. Yeah, you were clear all night. That's a real kudos to that. In fact, everybody had good quality tonight. It's been great.
Well, I enjoyed it. I did. I really enjoyed this tonight. I'll be looking forward to doing this more often.
Well, I know Steve will invite you back. I think Steve will send you a link every week. So if you ever just want to sit in, if I'm not over speaking, Steve, I think you're always welcome to sit in on any week that you get an invite, and Steve sends everybody an invite. So see something interesting, you can come back and join us anytime, any week.
Very informational and very interesting. I'll definitely be back.
Thanks for joining us, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come out. It's been a little, 5 or 10 episodes. What was the last Aquaponics guest we had on the show? That wasn't doing cannabis. Was that Ricosi? Was the last one? So
I'm not sure. We've been doing a lot of regenerative organic stuff and studies on mycorrhizae fungi and bacteria and stuff like that, and humic acid, where we're not always about aquaponics anymore. It's never been about hydroponics, but we do so much going into. Steve's introduced and allowed the show to grow from being just an aquaponics show to being a show about growing food and medicine, and it doesn't matter what it's about or the topic. We've had packaging. We've had guys that teach you how to package your products or have packaging, and they came on and told us that when you do packaging, don't try to get this fancy guy that grows packaging in California or New England. Get a guy that's in Oklahoma or Texas, somewhere near you, Nebraska, where he's got a packaging plant, and have him make you custom packaging or whatever it is. We've had lighting specialists. We get all these great. We've had doctors, so many doctors on the show. I can't even believe I get to talk to these guys. I said last week, if I would have gone to college and been able to ask the professor questions in the middle of his lecture like we do here, I would have learned a lot more.
Thank you for joining us. It was a lot of fun having you on. Again, for those of you who weren't able to check it out on the video cast, his website is riderfarmsaquaponics.com. It's also a description, and then we'll also have a link to his Facebook as well. thanks again for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
And thanks, Debbie, too.
Yep, thank you.
I'm on the beach in here. This is
Yeah, so what's up? Can I ask Steve, what's up with Mr. Green Jeans? Because we didn't have his pleasure of having him on the show last week.
Well, hold on a second. He's still got some background noise.
He's got a rock concert going on back there.
Yeah.
You should have been sitting right beside me.
I noticed that Mr. Green Jeans sometimes has friends over and they sit in the background and play guitar. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't bother me. I don't care about the music really.
Well,
You know,
why don't we go to Marty next, since
oh, he's earlier to bed than us. You know.
yeah.
Yeah, I got to take off here in a couple minutes. I'm fading fast. And
Sound like you're passing out. Yeah.
yeah, gotta go put the kids to bed, and they'll probably put me to sleep tonight. It's been a long day. But yeah, I wanted to give Mr. Green Jeans a shout out again. Thank you. He allegedly helped out a friend of mine, and you know, a lot of people talk about helping out our vets, but some people actually do it, no questions asked, drop them in the mail. And
The forest green.
you know,
That's awesome.
Some people just
Yeah.
do it and don't just talk about it, and I really appreciate it.
That's my name.
And so does he. So he's probably listening.
I named mine.
Awesome.
And
It sounds-
so, other than that, in the garden, you guys know too. I'm about 6.5 weeks into flower. Almost 7. Well, no, 7 weeks tomorrow, I think. So probably about another week and a half left on the cookies, and maybe 2.5 weeks on the grape stomper. So pretty excited for that. It's my birthday on the 22nd, so I'm hoping that I'll get some cookies for my birthday, but we'll see how she cooperates and whether or not she's done. So, but yeah, other than that, bug free. The class was great. Had a great time with that. Steve did a fantastic job. All of our students were great. Had great questions. Just a whole lot of fun, and just a pleasure to be a part of. So thanks, Steve, for I'm basically putting most of that together, and it was fun. Thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Yeah, it's always fun to do the aquaponics class. We did a really awesome online class this time. We had a great batch of students. For those of you guys that are looking to check it out, we're actually going to do another sale between now and Christmas, which is December 25th Pacific time. We'll actually be doing $50 off again. So if you're looking to get a last minute Christmas gift for someone that's looking to grow aquaponics, you can get them a class. The next class will be February 9th and 10th. So it'll be about a month after Christmas. That's a great thing to check out. I know Marty's got a bunch of plants going. I'll actually have my plants. I'll have a couple in flower or mid-flower, and then I'll have some in veg. That'll be ready to go as well. Marty will have his stuff in there ready to go, and yeah, we'll have a bunch of new stuff. I know I'll have some new pictures and some new footage to show off by next class. Lots of different cool things happening. This next year is going to be really insane, especially the first 3 months. So I'll have all kinds of cool things to show you guys as that's allowed. And what else do we got going on? Yeah, no, it's always fun to do the classes. We'll have the dates for all of 2019. Marty and I were just finalizing those for the aquaponic cannabis class here. The next day or two, we'll have all those up. So if you're looking to, check it out in any particular month next year, we'll have all those up as well.
Yeah, and hopefully I'll be, right about, I'm trying to be in mid-flower most of the time, just because it's a good sort of teaching time, and I'll have some stuff to trim up. That's one thing that we didn't have this weekend, was anything to trim up or clones to cut. We should have that on the next round. We did have the digital microscope this time, which was kind of fun to check out the beneficial bugs under the microscope. They're a little hard to catch because they move pretty fast, but it was a lot of fun. But it was cool. I enjoyed it. So we'll have that again, and then we'll cut some clones and be able to load those up. So it'd be a good time.
And I got to say, having been invited to the class last week, you guys, it's way beyond aquaponics. There's information on how to properly set up a greenhouse in different climates, to make your heating and cooling better, more viable, or make it easier on your plants and less out of your pocket. There's so much information, and that's really key if you're trying to do that kind of deal where you're going to build any kind of greenhouse. If you get that information, everything that Steve teaches and Marty teaches is scalable. It's all scalable. So, regardless of what size, the way Steve put it together with his slides, and you can actually see how to build a farm. So it's way more than just aquaponics. It was extremely invigorating and educational. Everybody was excited throughout the entire 2 days. I overslept both days because life is a bitch, and I didn't make it to the start of either class. But and Mr. Green Jeans has said this many times. The class is extraordinary. There is so much information. And the way these guys have put it together and worked together for many classes, it comes off and you learn. You're on the edge of your seat. If you're into this, I guess if you're not into it, but you wouldn't be paying that kind of money, even though it's not that expensive. You wouldn't be paying that money.
Last year, I actually had a kid whose dad was really into aquaponics and really wanted his son to be into aquaponics. So we bought him a class, and I think the kid spent 2/3 of the time playing on his phone and just had no desire to learn any of it. I was just like, why are you here, man? Just go home. It's the only person I've ever had that didn't enjoy my class. And it's just, whatever. But like you said, unless you're just not interested, you'll get a lot out of class. Did we lose Roger? Anyways, we've had everybody on the panel here. Me and Marty are teachers, and the two of you guys have taken the class.
I'm sorry. I got a phone call. What did you ask me, Steve?
I don't even remember now.
Okay. Well, you were probably saying how great I was on the show. And
you're a great student. Yes.
Yeah, definitely what it was. We were commenting on
best student ever.
Roger is.
Well, it was fun because you guys didn't, if you invite me to something for 6 hours or something, I'm going to talk sooner or later. But, you guys didn't get upset with that, and you felt like we did a good thing. The class went good, and we got, one of the things is, I think in that kind of class is to get the students involved. And so maybe I was just the catalyst to help because after I started asking questions, the students, I think, started asking more questions. And all in all, again, so much information. And I see Marty, yeah, he's so animated right now, but he's thinking. That must be Marty thinking. But I'm going to give it back to you. I'm going to take this phone call. I'm sorry. I'll be back in a few minutes.
All right, Roger. Thanks. All right, Steve, I'm going to take off. You guys have a good night.
Leave me. Mr. Green Jeans just said he'll be back in a minute. I'm trying to discuss the very important federal news, abandoning ship.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So before we get to anything else, very important federal news happened just in the last day or two. Hemp is now going to be federally legal under the current Farm Bill. There's some really screwed up shit in the Farm Bill as far as like authorizing the war in Yemen and a bunch of other really underhanded bullshit. But the point is that the hemp bill, which is currently part of the bill, part of the Farm Bill, which is going to pass, it's already passed the Senate, already passed the House. It just needs to be signed off by the orange dipshit in office. And it's going to legalize hemp production as well as the isolation of all of its compounds. So assuming that your plant material was above 0.03% THC, which is the internationally recognized standard, you would be able to produce hemp any state of the union completely legally, along with any other derivatives from cannabis, as long as it's not THC. Now, there's some weird caveats with this. the DEA wants to reschedule CBD as Schedule 5, which would require all producers to have an ISO lab, which is kind of a basic medical grade lab. It also would totally change the legality of it as well. So you could see some really weird and, you know, maybe things that are very much against the way we currently understand the market in the very near future. I think
Well, because there's already legal CBD markets that are.
Well, technically, it's operated in kind of a gray area until this last month in November. There was a ruling on the DEA stuff with CBD, and now you have a federal protections for hemp coming through here in the next couple days. But it's going to allow federally legal any state of the union to start producing, cannabinoids that aren't THC in a pretty large way that did not exist before. It's going to change both the U.S. Market as well as international markets, because shortly thereafter they're going to be able to open up import-export. So it's really going to change the whole market in a way that we haven't really seen in the United States before, and it'll be very interesting to see how this all shakes out. This is, a game changer, an absolute game changer. It's going to change banking, at least for hemp producers, and a whole bunch of other stuff where even if you're just a hemp producer and you had a vegetable farm, you're growing soybeans and corn and stuff, the moment you grow hemp, and banks won't touch you. You can't get crop insurance. You can't get a lot of things that are typically protected. And then I think the other thing I wanted to bring up on this, because I've actually had a chance to talk to a couple of Canadian people in the last 72 hours since this was first announced. This was super fucking underhanded and scummy corporate bullshit. And I want to bring this up because I have not heard this by a single other person, and I really want to bring this up. So the United States played a huge role in helping shape the current legislation for cannabis and hemp and cannabinoids in Canada. Okay, threats for both funding and DEA stuff and a whole bunch of other political bullshit went into crafting, and mostly banking and things like that, went into crafting the current hemp and cannabis legislation in Canada. Now, what this means in layman's terms is the medical cannabis and hemp falls under the medical and cannabis and drug regulations of Canada. What the United States, and this includes CBD and derivatives, and products. What this means for the United States and Canada is that the United States basically just grabbed Canada by the balls, forced them to pass it as a drug and regulate it as a drug. And then immediately, not 2 months later or 3 months, 2 months after legalization, the United States comes through and passes hemp as a commodity, not as a drug, which is completely different in terms of regulatory structure, banking rules, international trade restrictions, all that kind of shit. And basically led them by the nose and completely backstabbed Canada and kicked them in the teeth and screwed their whole market, for the betterment of the United States. And it's classic United States, but it's been a while since they've done something that ballsy on a market like this. And it's something that very least needs to be pointed out, because it's fucked up. It's wrong, and I haven't heard anyone else bring up that point on the way that whole thing went down. And maybe it's because I have a weird viewpoint where I'm straddling the border, working with people on both sides of the border. But it's a really weird situation that, hasn't really been publicly made aware of, or, the public education on that has been very, I guess, not vocal, for lack of a better term. Does anyone here have any thoughts on that? Or is everyone AFK? Alrighty.
I'm still here. Maybe dozing off a little bit, though. I'm seriously fading hard. Yeah, I do think that you're going to see a ripple that because they can't even keep it right no matter what they try to do. And so the fact that they want to reschedule it to something else instead of just remove regulation across the board still seems silly to me. Like, why they even bother isolating out like part of it? Like, I mean, I guess I kind of get it, but prohibition never makes sense to me to begin with. Like, it's good in that it's federal deregulation on a certain level, but it's still gonna, because you're trying to isolate certain parts of the plant and create regulation and like do all this extra bullshit on top of it, it's all gonna have cost and create markets, and people are gonna want to have local control and county control and a lot of the same shit that you see happen in regular cannabis markets. So like, yeah, it might be good on some level, a step forward, but at the same time, like, still not there by any means. And I think it's just going to cause problems. Like, I think that's what it comes down to. Like, it might open up certain opportunities, especially in states that didn't have anything before, and that's great. So I don't want to like piss on their parade or anything, but I think it would be good for the overall industry, like the things attached to growing. I think it are going to profit off of it, and that's definitely good. Hopefully that regulation is usually bad for small growers, like we've seen in pretty much every state that has legalized and added regulation. They've destroyed medical markets with successful small growers. So on one hand, it could be really bad for small growers. On the other hand, it could open up the door for a lot of really small growers in other states that had no doors whatsoever. So it's kind of a mixed bag for me.
Yeah, it's going to be really weird to see how this all shakes out. What I'm hoping is that this is the ram that finally kicks the door down for proper banking regulations for our industry. That would be wonderful. If I can get a wish, on a star for 2019, it'd be fucking awesome if I didn't have to deal with crazy bullshit just to do banking. Can I ask for something that simple, please?
Not have to carry massive amounts of cash everywhere. Yeah, that'd be nice.
Just the whole crazy cockamamie bullshit you have to do to move money from point A to point B regardless.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man, I got to take off. Sorry to leave you solo. Hopefully Roger comes back soon. If not, I will see you guys next week.
Or Mr. Green Jeans.
Or Mr. Green Jeans.
I will see you again next. Thanks for the class. It was a lot of fun, and yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
All right, see you guys later.
Yeah. So thanks everybody. I just wanted to bring up that topic on the federal legalization of hemp. I think it's extremely important. It's going to have far-reaching implications. I know people definitely in Canada have been losing their minds over the decision. In the United States, there's a lot of people that I don't think the United States industry understands the implications of this quite yet, and it'll be interesting to see how this further affects federal law and regarding cannabis and cannabinoids and isolates. How there's zero way to tell a difference between CBD derived from a plant above 0.03% THC and below. So this, will also affect the black market in a way I don't think anyone really can kind of foresee yet. So it'll be very interesting to see how this all shakes out. I also want to say a big shout out to Scotty and the dude over at Dude Grow Show. I was over there on the show this week. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. We had a cover decarboxylation and a couple of other cool things over on the Dude Grow Show. I believe it was Monday or Tuesday. I think it was Monday I was on the show. So definitely go check that out. That was a lot of fun. And we have Josh from Dutch Blooms. I'll be hanging out with him and Leighton from Kingdom Aquaponics, a bunch of other guys from previous episodes, in Santa Rosa for the Emerald Cup this weekend. And they also have the Regenerative Organic Cannabis Conference, where they're bringing speakers from all over the world, some of the best in the field, Dr. Faust, Susan Marie Evans, Dr. Elaine Ingham, Dragonfly Earth Medicine, Pretty extensive list. Dr. Efron, a whole bunch of different people that come in and speak about all different types of cannabis products. It's a really enjoyable conference, probably the most educational, if not the most educational conference that there really is in the cannabis industry in terms of cultivation. You definitely don't want to miss it. You can check that out at Regenerative, organiccannabis.com, or in the description if you're a little bit lazier or don't want to have to type that out. Marty and I also, again, will be doing $50 off between now and Christmas for our online aquaponic cannabis class. It's a great gift for people. If for a loved one that wants to learn how to grow aquaponic cannabis, or your spouse or whatever, even if you don't love them, you still want to get them something nice. You can still get it for them. Anyways, shout out to them too. And then thanks for all of our panelists as always. Big shout out to Ryder Farms Aquaponics for taking the time to join us. I want to thank everyone that was in the class over the weekend. And what else do we have going on? There was another cannabis-related thing I wanted to bring up, and I don't remember what it is now because it's been a bit of a long day. I've been traveling like a maniac. I got to go to the airport here in a couple of hours to go back out to the Emerald Cup. So for those of you going out to the Emerald Cup, be sure to hit me up on Facebook or on email or on YouTube or on Instagram at Ponics, whichever you prefer. And yeah, thanks a lot for joining us. I'm trying to think if there's anything else going on. Yes, you can check out the aquaponic cannabis class that Marty and I teach at potentponics.com. You can check out the store section where it says classes and more. And big shout out to True Aquaponics for also listing our class up on their website. If you're looking for nutrients, go check them out over there. Shout out to Spectrum King as well. They help us out a lot for the classes as well. They've donated lights in the past for us to do side-by-sides and stuff. And thanks for everyone that watches. I really appreciate everyone that watches the show. I've actually had 3 separate emails in the last week that were kind of thank yous for helping me get them people started on their aquaponic and cannabis journeys. So it really means a lot. And thank you for those, and keep them coming. And if you haven't checked out previous episodes, you can check them out over at soundcloud.com/potentponics. You can check them out on iTunes, WeedTube, WeedTV, and YouTube. So thanks for everyone for watching, and we'll catch you guys again next time. Cheers.